The clinking of crystal glasses and the low murmur of polite conversation filled the grand hall of the Charleston Grove Country Club. It was the annual Stanton Foundation Gala, and Robert Stanton, steel magnate, billionaire, and recently named South Carolina's most influential businessman, stood near the podium, exchanging firm handshakes and tight-lipped smiles. But Robert's heart wasn't in it. It hadn't been for years. At 62, Robert carried himself like a man who had conquered the world, but lost something far more valuable in the process. His son, Blake Stanton, 34 and the sole heir to the Stanton fortune, was across the room entertaining a group of venture capitalists and models. Slicked back hair, designer suit, a golden watch gleaming under the chandeliers. He looked like the future of the Stanton empire. But even Blake couldn't draw Robert's attention tonight. Because then, she sang. It started soft. Just a single voice, pure and haunting, rising from the edge of the hall. The crowd fell into a strange hush as the first notes slipped through the air. I wandered by the river wide, where moonlight danced and dreams abide. Robert's spine stiffened. His hand trembled, the champagne flute tilting dangerously. That song. That damned song. He hadn't heard it in 32 years. She used to sing it to me. He whispered, more to himself than anyone else. His late wife. Amelia. No, missing wife. She had vanished without a trace one summer night, when Blake was only 2. No note. No signs of struggle. The police suspected drowning, but they never found her body. And now, that voice. Robert turned sharply, eyes scanning the guests until he found the source. On the modest stage near the piano, the event coordinator had arranged for a surprise musical guest. A young woman, no older than 25, with auburn curls and a simple navy dress. She didn't look like a professional singer. Her eyes were closed, her hands trembling around the microphone. And if the wind should call my name, promise me you'll do the same. The final line. The same line Amelia always whispered into Robert's ear before she disappeared. The room erupted in polite applause, but Robert remained frozen. Who is she? He asked sharply, grabbing the nearest server by the arm. I think she's local, the boy stammered. She goes by Lily. Hired last minute. Bring her to me. Now. But when the server returned to the stage, Lily was gone. Blake, sensing his father's distress, finally approached. What the hell just happened? You look like you've seen a ghost. Robert didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the velvet curtain behind the stage, his thoughts spiraling into memories long buried. She hadn't just sung the song. She had Amelia's voice. And something deep in his gut told him, this wasn't a coincidence. Not after all these years. Not tonight. Not her. Charleston slept under a velvet sky, but Robert Stanton couldn't. He sat in his study, the same way he had every night for 3 decades. Whiskey in one hand, silence in the other. Tonight, though, the silence had a voice. Her voice. Amelia. The melody echoed in his mind like a ghost tapping at the windows. He stared at the grainy photo the event coordinator had found. A phone snapshot of Lily on stage, taken by some gala attendee. It wasn't much. Her head was turned slightly, face half lit by the stage lights. But it was enough. There was something hauntingly familiar in the curve of her cheek, the tilt of her chin. Not Amelia. No, not exactly. But maybe. Robert grabbed his phone and dialed an old number, one he hadn't used in 10 years. Yeah, came a gruff voice on the other end. It's Robert Stanton, he said. I need you in Charleston by morning. A pause. Is this about her? Robert didn't answer directly. Bring everything. He hung up. By 7 a.m., a black SUV pulled into the long driveway of Stanton Manor. Out stepped Walter Grant, retired FBI agent turned private investigator. Gray-haired, unshaven, and still wearing the same brown trench coat from his bureau days. I was hoping you'd call before I died, he grunted, tossing a duffel bag on the foyer floor. Robert wasted no time. He handed Walter the photo of Lily. She sang Amelia's song. Every word. Same voice. And then she vanished. Walter studied the photo for a moment, then nodded slowly. Find her, Robert said, and find out who she really is. Meanwhile, across town in a crumbling Victorian house in North Charleston, Lily Cooper sat on the edge of her twin bed, wringing her hands. The old radio played low jazz in the background, but her mind was spinning. She hadn't meant to sing that song. It just came out, like something from a dream. or a memory she wasn't supposed to have. Her roommate, Jessa, peeked into the room. "Hey, you okay? You disappeared after the gig. I thought something happened." "I'm fine," Lily lied. But she wasn't. Ever since the gala, she felt eyes on her. She'd taken the back exit through the kitchen, but as she walked home through the shadowy downtown streets, she could have sworn she was being followed. And now, for some reason, that older man's face, his pale, shocked expression, was stuck in her head. His eyes, why did they seem so familiar? She reached under her bed and pulled out a box she hadn't touched in years. Inside were three things: a faded photograph of a woman in a white summer dress, a locket with no chain, and a birth certificate that read, Lily Grace Cooper. Mother, unknown. The social worker had said she was abandoned as a baby. Found near the river. No clues. No answers. Until now. Back at Stanton Manor, Walter flipped through old case files, crime scene photos, and news clippings about Amelia Stanton's disappearance. He turned to Robert. "You know what this means, don't you?" Robert nodded, his voice barely a whisper. If Lily's her daughter, then Amelia might not have drowned. Walter leaned forward, eyes narrowing. And if Amelia didn't drown, someone made sure she vanished. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of that possibility settling in. Then Walter muttered, "Time to dig up the past." Lily couldn't sleep. She stood by the cracked window of her room, watching the moonlight pour over the street below like silver paint. The gala had been 3 nights ago, and still, something inside her was different. Awakened. She couldn't stop thinking about that man. The one who froze when she sang. The one whose eyes, widened in disbelief, seemed to pierce straight through her soul. He knew something, and she needed answers. At 9 a.m., Robert Stanton and Walter drove down a long-forgotten road, surrounded by thick pines and buzzing cicadas. They stopped where the pavement gave way to gravel, near the banks of the Ashapoo River, the same river where Amelia's sandals were found 32 years ago. It was the last place anyone had seen her. "She used to come here," Robert said quietly. Said the water calmed her, that it sang to her. Walter scanned the surroundings. "We need to look again." With new eyes. They descended the slope to the water's edge, the air thick with humidity and memory. Robert stared at the current. What if she never meant to disappear? What if someone made it look like she drowned? Walter was already pulling out a small drone from his bag. If there's a hidden trail, old structure, anything, this'll find it. Within minutes, the drone's camera fed back a live aerial view to Walter's tablet. Forest, brush, swamp, and then a structure, hidden behind the trees. Small, rotting, covered in ivy. "What the hell is that?" Robert asked. "Cabin," Walter muttered. "And I bet my pension it wasn't on the original police grid." Back in Charleston, Lily left her job at the diner early. She'd made a decision. The photo from her box now rested in her purse, the woman in white with the kind eyes. She walked 10 blocks to the public library and sat down at a computer. She typed, Robert Stanton. There he was, Charleston's billionaire steel king, founder of the Stanton Foundation, widower, father. She clicked on an old article, her eyes scanning every line. Then her heart nearly stopped. Following the disappearance of his wife, Amelia Stanton, in 1993, Lily's breath caught. The name felt right, like a bell rung in her chest. She clicked another article, then another. Then she saw a photo, a black and white image from the 90s. Robert, Amelia, and in Amelia's arms, a toddler, Blake. But all Lily saw was the woman. The same soft curls, the same locket, the same face as the one in her photo. Lily dropped the mouse. That wasn't just any missing woman. That might have been her mother. At the riverside cabin, Walter kicked open the rotting door. Inside, dust floated in the shafts of light, and vines crawled along the floorboards. But under the decay, something felt preserved. Robert stepped inside behind him. "Jesus," he whispered. There were traces of someone. Old teacups on a table, a stack of journals, a faded blanket folded on a cot. And on the wall, scratched into the wood, "She sings like me." Walter turned slowly. She was here. She lived here. Robert's voice cracked. All these years, she was alive? Walter picked up one of the journals. The cover read, A.S. 1996. She kept records. Maybe the truth is in these pages. That night, Lily walked down to the river near her neighborhood. She held the photo of Amelia, the one she now believed was her mother, and whispered into the breeze. "Who are you?" The wind didn't answer. But across town, Robert Stanton sat in his study, holding one of Amelia's journals, hands trembling. He opened to the first page, and what he read would change everything. Robert Stanton hadn't wept in over 30 years. Not when the press hounded him. Not at the memorial. Not even when he told young Blake that Mommy had gone away. But now, seated in the golden lamplight of his study, Amelia's journal trembling in his hands, the first tear fell. The handwriting was unmistakable, slanted, graceful, written in violet ink. Just as he remembered. He read slowly, each line peeling back time like layers of old wallpaper. August 12, 1994. I don't know who to trust. Every time I hear a car, I hide. Every time I hear his voice, I freeze. But she keeps me strong. My Lily. My miracle. Robert's breath caught. She had a child. She had a daughter. The next few pages confirmed it. Amelia hadn't vanished into the river. She had fled. Fled from someone she feared. Someone close. And she had been pregnant when she left. Walter looked up from another journal. This changes everything. She didn't leave me, Robert whispered. She ran, to protect her child. He stared out the window, jaw tight. But from who? Walter flipped to the last page of his journal. You're not going to like this. He handed it over. Robert read. He knows. I saw it in his eyes. He thinks the baby is his. If I don't disappear, he'll take her. I know what he's capable of. I thought he was your friend. But he's a monster in silk. Robert's blood ran cold. A name burned in his mind before he even saw it written on the final line. Victor Langston, his old business partner, his best friend, and the godfather of his son. The next morning, Lily awoke to a knock on the door. Jessa answered, only to find a clean-cut man in a gray suit holding an envelope. For Miss Lily Cooper. Lily stepped forward. That's me. He handed her the envelope and walked off without a word. Inside was a short note. You sang her song. Meet me. For P.M. at the Riverbend Cafe. Ask for Stanton. Her heart thudded. Stanton. The name she had just read about. The man who froze at her voice. Part of her screamed to run. But a louder part, the one that had always felt abandoned, adrift, aching for truth, begged her to go. At 4 p.m., the Riverbend Cafe was nearly empty. It was a cozy spot off the tourist trail, with creaky booths and the smell of cornbread in the air. Lily sat near the back, hands in her lap, palms sweating. Then the door opened. He walked in like a man stepping into a memory, tall, silver-haired, composed but with a deep sadness in his eyes. Robert Stanton. He approached slowly. Lily? She stood, nodded once. Yes. He looked at her for a long time. Not the way strangers look. The way fathers look at daughters they never knew they had. You have her eyes, he murmured. And her voice. Lily hesitated. Was she my mother? Robert swallowed hard. I believe she was. A silence hung between them. Then Lily asked, why did she leave? Robert sat across from her, setting down the journal between them. She didn't leave you, he said. She was running from a man I once trusted with everything. Lily stared at the cover of the journal, hesitant to touch it. And now that you've sung her song, Robert added grimly, that man might know you exist. Meanwhile, in a penthouse suite downtown, Victor Langston poured himself a drink, watching the city hum below. His assistant entered quietly. She's been found, the assistant said. The girl. The voice. Victor smiled without turning around. Well then, he said, lifting his glass. Let's finish what we started. Victor Langston's office was a museum of power. Mahogany shelves lined with rare books, oil portraits of dead tycoons, and a vintage globe bar cart that hadn't held soda in 40 years. But behind all the polish and elegance was a darkness, silent and watchful. He poured himself another drink, his hands steady, his reflection flickering in the darkened window. A photo lay on the table in front of him. Lily Cooper. Red curls. Green eyes. The face of a woman he once tried to own. Amelia, he whispered to the glass. You left me a parting gift, didn't you? Across town, at the Stanton estate, Lily walked the halls of the mansion like someone wandering through a dream. Every polished surface, every chandelier, every framed photo told the story of a life she might have had if her mother hadn't vanished. Robert led her into a quiet sitting room. On the wall hung a framed photo of Amelia and him on their wedding day. That's her, Lily said softly, stepping closer. Robert nodded. And that's the man who helped ruin everything. He pointed to the edge of the photo. There stood Victor Langston, smiling, holding a champagne glass. He was charming. Brilliant. My best friend, once. But Amelia saw the side of him I didn't. He walked to the fireplace and stared into the unlit hearth. She tried to tell me. I didn't listen. Lily sat slowly. You said he thought I was his? Robert nodded. According to her journal, he believed it. He had become obsessed with her toward the end. Told her that if she ever tried to leave, he'd make her disappear. Lily's voice quivered, and she vanished. With me. Robert sat across from her, his eyes wet. She saved you. A long silence. Then Lily asked the question that had haunted her since the gala. Why do I remember the song? I was just a baby when she disappeared. Robert smiled faintly. Because she wrote it for you. Sang it while you were still inside her. Over and over. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small cassette tape. I found this in the cabin. She recorded it. Lily took it in trembling hands, as if holding her own heartbeat. Later that night, Lily sat alone in one of the mansion's guest rooms, listening to the tape through an old recorder. Amelia's voice, soft, warm, achingly beautiful, filled the air. The river knows where dreams begin, where hearts are safe from pain and sin. Lily closed her eyes and wept. For the mother she never knew. For the life they never had. For the song that connected them across decades. But in the darkness, someone else listened. Across a surveillance feed, Victor watched Lily through a hidden camera planted in the cafe where they'd met earlier. He studied every movement, every tear. Soon, little bird, he whispered, you'll sing for me too. Meanwhile, Walter Grant made a grim discovery. He had broken into Victor Langston's private storage unit under an alias, posing as a security consultant. Among boxes of old files, hidden behind a false wall, he found it. A leather-bound ledger. Inside were coded records, maps, and, most chilling of all, photos of women. Some dated, some not. One was clearly Amelia, and another, recent, Lily. Walter snapped a photo and called Robert immediately. He's been watching her. For weeks, maybe longer. Robert's voice was tight with fury. Then we have to end this. Now. Walter paused. Are you ready to learn just how deep this goes? Robert clenched his jaw. I'm ready to burn it all. Walter stood in the Stanton study with the evidence spread out across the table. Photographs, coded ledgers, hidden recordings. Robert's hands trembled as he flipped through them. Each image of Lily felt like a bullet aimed at his soul. She's just a kid, he growled. How long has he been watching her? Walter pointed to a timestamp on one of the surveillance stills. First photo? 3 months ago. Taken outside her apartment in North Charleston. Robert's voice was a whisper of rage. He knew before I did. Walter nodded grimly. And he's building something. I found financial records, offshore accounts, shell companies. He's funding a private estate out in Beaufort. Remote, secure. Probably a fortress by now. Robert's hands curled into fists. Why? What does he want? Walter exhaled slowly. Amelia. He never let her go. And now, he thinks Lily is her second chance. Robert's eyes darkened. No, he's not going near her. Not ever again. That same morning, Lily sat on the back veranda, watching the garden bloom beneath the southern sun. A maid brought her tea, and for the first time in her life, she felt surrounded by warmth, like the chaos of her past had slowed down. But it didn't last. Walter joined her with a calm but serious expression. We need to talk. Lily tensed. Is it about him? Walter nodded. Victor Langston. We believe he's been watching you, following you, maybe even orchestrating your path toward Robert. Lily's face paled. Why would he do that? Walter hesitated. Because he's obsessed. With your mother. And now, with you. He pulled out the surveillance photo. Do you remember seeing this man before? Lily looked closely. It was grainy, but the shape of the figure by the cafe window stirred something in her chest. Yes, she said slowly. He was at the gala. I thought he was just another guest. Walter's jaw tightened. He wasn't. And now that you've been seen with Robert, he'll know you're connected. Lily's voice trembled. What do I do? You don't do anything, Walter said. We do. That evening, a storm rolled in across the Charleston skyline. Thunder cracked like cannon fire, and rain lashed the mansion windows. Robert stood alone in Amelia's old piano room, staring at the untouched keys. He pressed one. A low, lonely note echoed into the shadows. He remembered the night Amelia told him she was pregnant. She had sat at this piano, singing the lullaby that later became the song, the one Lily had brought back into his world. She had been scared that night. He could see it now, in hindsight. She'd felt hunted even then, but he was too busy expanding his empire to notice. A voice behind him pulled him out of his trance. She loved you. Robert turned. Lily stood in the doorway, her hair damp from the humidity, her eyes raw from too many truths. She wrote about you in the journal, about how she hoped one day you'd forgive her for running. Robert swallowed hard. I don't need forgiveness. I need to make things right. Lily walked to the piano and sat beside him. She also said, you used to play. Robert chuckled bitterly. Badly. Play it for me, she said softly. He hesitated. Then his fingers, rusty but sure, found the notes. A slow melody filled the room, the one she had sung. Lily began to hum along, her voice trembling, as if the ghosts in the room were joining in. But outside, in the woods beyond the iron gate of Stanton Manor, a black car idled in the rain. Inside it, Victor Langston watched through binoculars, and he smiled. Victor Langston leaned back in the leather seat of his car, fingers tapping a slow rhythm on the armrest. The rain traced jagged lines across the windshield, blurring the warm glow of Stanton Manor beyond the gate. Inside, Lily was singing again. He could hear her faintly through the directional mic, just like her mother, he whispered. Same voice. Same fire. His driver glanced at him through the mirror. Orders, sir? Victor smiled. Let them feel safe. Let them settle into comfort. That's when people make mistakes. Inside the manor, the piano song had faded, leaving Robert and Lily in silence. She stared down at her hands, unsure what to do with them. Grief and awe sat side by side in her chest. I still don't know who I am, she whispered. Robert reached into a drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a locket, the same locket Lily had found in her childhood box. I gave this to Amelia on our 5th anniversary, he said. She wore it every day? Lily opened it. Inside were 2 tiny photographs, a younger Robert and Amelia, smiling brightly. I found another copy in the cabin, she said. My mother must have left it for me. Robert nodded. She knew one day you'd need the truth. Walter entered just then, holding a laptop. I decrypted the ledger. Both Robert and Lily leaned forward. Walter continued. Langston wasn't just watching Lily. He's been tracking women who resemble Amelia for years. At least 7, all red-haired, all young singers. Some disappeared. Others were paid off, I think. Lily recoiled. He was looking for me? Walter gave a grim nod. Or someone close enough to replace what he lost. Robert's voice was a low growl. He's not going to touch her. Walter handed him a USB. There's more. Financial records suggest he's been using a private research firm in Beaufort, something shady. Off-the-books work. Genetics, identity reconstruction. Lily's heart pounded. What does that mean? Walter looked at her carefully. It means he might have been trying to create another Amelia. And when that failed, he started looking for the original's blood. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She wandered the mansion's halls, lost in memories that didn't belong to her, but somehow felt familiar. The scent of jasmine in the hallway, the painting of the old river bend, the faint hum of an old lullaby in her head. She ended up back in the piano room. There, on the bench, lay something strange, a sheet of music she hadn't seen before. Fresh ink, a melody titled Lily's Song. She picked it up carefully. The notes were beautiful, but not in Amelia's handwriting. It was recent. Someone had written this tonight. In the control room, Walter rewound the security footage from earlier. He paused. There, 3:17 a.m. A shadow moving across the music room. But the alarm hadn't gone off. No doors had opened. No staff had entered. Whoever it was, they had access. He zoomed in on the blurry figure. Tall, male, wearing gloves, and walking like he'd been in this house before. At 7 a.m., Robert woke to the sound of shattering glass. One of the upstairs windows had been broken from the inside, and Lily was gone. Only a single note lay on her bed. The river always returns what it hides. Come find me. The road to Beaufort twisted through marshland and fog, thick with the scent of pine and secrets. Walter drove while Robert sat silently in the passenger seat, gripping the note they found on Lily's bed. Come find me. 3 words that screamed of Langston's games. He's baiting you. Walter warned. He wants you to come to him. Alone. I know, Robert said coldly. That's exactly what I'm going to do. They traced the coordinates hidden in the ledger to an isolated estate tucked behind a defunct shrimping plant on St. Helena Island. According to local records, the land hadn't been touched in decades, until 2 years ago, when it was purchased under a shell corporation tied to Langston's firm. As they neared the gate, a rusted iron sign swung in the breeze. Ashridge Pines. Subtle, Walter muttered. They stopped half a mile down the road. Too quiet. Too clean. Not a single security guard in sight. But Walter didn't trust the silence. He handed Robert a small earpiece. I'll circle the back. You go through the front. Keep him talking. Buy me time. Robert nodded once, his eyes steely. Inside the estate, Lily woke in a room made of memories. The furniture was antique, the wallpaper faded floral. The air smelled like rosewater and old books. And in the corner sat a grand piano, exactly like the one in the Stanton home. Langston had recreated her mother's world. She sat up, dizzy. Something had been in the tea. Not enough to knock her out, just enough to slow her limbs and dull her thoughts. The door opened. Victor Langston entered, calm and unhurried, like a man walking into his own dream. Good morning, Lily. She didn't respond. I hope the room is comfortable. I designed it from memory. Every detail. She stared at him. Why? He smiled faintly. Because I never forgot her. Your mother was the only thing that ever slipped through my fingers. And now, here you are. Lily stood slowly. I'm not her. No, he agreed. But you're the closest thing to heaven I've seen since the day she left. He walked to the piano and played a few notes. Notes Lily recognized instantly. The song. She wrote it for you, didn't she? Victor asked. Lily clenched her jaw. She wrote it to keep me safe. From you. Victor's smile faded. I protected her from your father. From that prison of wealth and silence. I offered her something real. You stalked her. I loved her. His voice dropped, twisted with fury and grief. She was going to leave him. Be with me. But then she vanished. Took you. Lied. Lily stepped back. She ran because she knew what you were. Victor's eyes flashed. You don't know the whole story. Lily shook her head. And I don't want to. He moved toward her, slow, deliberate. Then a voice crackled in his earpiece. Sir, we've got movement. Perimeter breached. Victor cursed and turned toward the door. Don't go anywhere, he said with a bitter smile. It's time your father joined the party. Robert approached the house alone, hands raised, unarmed. Victor stepped onto the porch to greet him. Still wearing those tailored suits, he said. You haven't changed a bit. And you've changed too much, Robert replied. Where is she? Victor tilted his head. Inside. Safe. For now. Robert took a step forward. Let her go. Take me instead. Victor chuckled. She's not a hostage, Robert. She's the future. And you're the past, Robert snapped. A relic clinging to a fantasy. Victor's eyes narrowed. Then let's see what happens when the past and future collide. Behind them, a quiet flash of motion slipped around the back door, Walter, armed and ready. And in the room above, Lily searched for something. Anything that could help her escape. Her fingers brushed against the piano bench lid. Inside, an old tuning hammer. She gripped it tightly. No more songs. Just survival. Victor Langston paced the second-floor hallway, speaking into a radio clipped to his belt. Lock the gates. No one gets out. Below, Robert was escorted into the grand foyer by 2 of Victor's private guards. The house smelled of old money and rot. The chandelier above dripped light like icicles. Everything was too quiet, too staged. Victor's voice echoed down the staircase. I spent years building this, Robert. Years hunting shadows and chasing rumors. But the moment I heard her sing, I knew. I knew. Robert stepped forward, fists clenched. She's not Amelia. Victor smiled coldly. No, she's something better. Untouched. Unspoiled. And this time, I'll make sure she never leaves. Upstairs, Lily listened. She pressed her ear to the door, hearing Victor's boots move across the hardwood. Then, silence. She wedged the tuning hammer into the old window frame. It wouldn't budge. Then her eyes darted to the hallway beyond. If she could just get to the servants' staircase. She counted to 3, took a breath, and ran. Walter, now inside, moved like a ghost through the east corridor. He took out one guard with a silent blow to the neck and ducked into the library. His comm buzzed. Robert, status? Robert whispered into the mic, hidden under his collar. He's trying to break her. Playing God. Walter replied, I'm in. You get him talking. I'll find her. Lily reached the landing and sprinted toward the servants' stairs. She didn't see the second guard until it was too late. He grabbed her arm. Going somewhere. Lily screamed and swung the tuning hammer. Crack. He dropped to the floor, groaning. She didn't wait. She ran. Downstairs, Victor heard the scream. His face twisted with rage. She's running again, he growled. Just like her mother. Robert took a step forward. You never understood her. You never knew what love was. Victor turned to him, eyes wild. You think you did? You think money and mansions made you worthy of her? Robert didn't flinch. No, but I didn't try to own her. Victor pulled a small pistol from his coat. That's where we differ. In the West Wing, Lily burst into a narrow hallway and found Walter waiting. She froze. But then she saw the recognition in his eyes. Relief. Come on, he said, grabbing her hand. We're getting you out. But before they could move, a gunshot rang out from the foyer. Robert hit the ground hard, pain flaring through his shoulder. Victor stood over him, gun smoking. I told you, Robert. She was mine. You just held her until I was ready. He stepped forward for the killing shot. Then, drop it. Walter's voice echoed from the balcony above, gun aimed at Victor's chest. Victor hesitated, eyes flicking between Walter and Lily behind him. Then he laughed. You think I didn't plan for this? Suddenly, smoke filled the room. A hidden release. Chaos. Lily screamed. Robert tried to rise. Victor vanished into the haze. Outside, the storm returned with a vengeance. Rain slammed the windows as alarms blared through the estate. Walter dragged Robert out through the side exit, bleeding but conscious. Lily followed, heart pounding, hair soaked. Behind them, the house began to burn. Somehow, amidst the chaos, something had ignited. Or someone. Ashridge Pines lit up like a funeral pyre. They made it to the SUV just as backup arrived. Police, emergency responders, black SUVs with Stanton security. But Victor Langston was gone. That night, in a field outside town, a pickup truck idled under the trees. Victor sat in the back seat, face bruised, hand trembling. Beside him, a man in a gray coat spoke quietly. We'll relocate you. But next time, you finish it. Victor looked up. Oh, I will, he hissed. She hasn't sung her last note yet. 2 weeks later, Charleston felt different. The summer air still clung thick to the skin. The cicadas still sang at dusk, but something had shifted. For Robert Stanton, the world had slowed. Every ticking second felt more precious now that he'd nearly lost his daughter, again. Lily recovered quickly. The bruises faded. The nightmares came less often. But she never went anywhere alone. Not yet. Victor Langston had vanished without a trace. No fingerprints, no financial trail, no sightings. Just whispers of a man burning with obsession and a voice that haunted him like a curse. Robert stood on the garden terrace, watching the sunrise, when Lily joined him. She handed him a cup of coffee, black, just like he liked it. They watched the horizon together. I still don't remember everything, she said softly. Just flashes. Her face. A river. That song. Robert looked at her. You remember what matters. They were quiet for a moment. Then Lily said, I want to change my name. He turned to her, surprised. I want to be a Stanton, she said. Not because of the money. Not the name. Just to feel like I belong to someone. Robert's throat tightened. You always have. That afternoon, the press held a conference outside the Stanton Foundation. Robert stood beside Lily as she was introduced formally to the world. Lily Grace Stanton, adopted daughter of Robert Stanton, heir to the foundation, survivor of a legacy buried in silence. She wore a simple navy dress, just like the one from the night of the gala, and around her neck, the gold locket, freshly polished. As the cameras flashed, a reporter called out, Will you be continuing your mother's musical legacy? Lily smiled faintly. I'll be telling my story now. That evening, the Stanton estate held a private gathering. Friends, family, a few trusted colleagues. No press, no cameras, just people. Lily took the stage near the piano where this story began. She didn't speak. She just sang. Not Amelia's lullaby, but her own. A new song. One about rivers and storms, fire and escape, bloodlines and healing. Her voice trembled but never broke. And when she finished, the room was silent. Then, thunderous applause. tears in Robert's eyes, and something neither of them said aloud, but both felt in their bones. Amelia was listening. Far away, in a motel room on the edge of Louisiana, a television played the press conference replay. The screen flickered as the anchor announced Lily Stanton's debut. Victor Langston watched in the dark, his face gaunt, eyes hollow. He held something in his hand, a piece of paper. It read, "She belongs to me." He folded it, lit a match, and dropped it into the ashtray. For now, he would wait, because obsession never truly dies, and voices, like ghosts, always return.